Hi there, and welcome to this session of the course. I'm so glad you made it. And jumping right into it, database. What is a database? A like a common internet search would display. It's a structured way of collecting data or storing data for easy retrieval. Or manipulation, as the case may be. Now, putting this into practical terms, in almost times when we hear the word database, we try to just fix our mind to computer systems and digital systems. But database, it's beyond that. When you look at it, like you've also had means of involving yourself with the database. For instance, my book here, my book here, and you can see it serves as a database where with my pen, I've penned down a few things I'm just going to put this up here, pen down a few things. And these things are penned down, they are records. So just like you take notes in classes and the likes, you can easily, flip back when you're preparing or you want to do some revision or to just have a refresher of the things you've captured or learned in the past. You're going through the pages. That is like a database because that's data that has been stored up somewhere and you going through it is you retrieving that data that has been stored up. In this case here, you imputed the data or you inserted the data by writing it down, sketching it down in the form you deemed best fit. Okay, so that is like a picture. I just want you to have that mental picture of what a database is. Of course, we use this term more now with digital systems. Okay, with digital systems, you say, oh, the database is in a digital form, and an easy way which we'll be using to converse in this course. Like you can see above here, we're going to be using a SQL database. And we'll be using the language like a dialect to converse with the system, and that is in my SQL language. There are several other kinds of database, but in this section, in the course of our interaction, we're just going to focus on a SQL database, which is one of the most popular database systems in the world. And in MySQL, it's a very, very good dialect to interact with databases, with SQL databases. There are several others I would encourage you to go over them. But my expectation, my confidence is by the end of our interaction in this course, you would have gathered enough exposure and knowledge to be able to interact and perform very well with any system, in terms of the digital database that you come across. So in this course, part of the things we'll be using, we're needing in this course is a workbench. Now there are several workbenches that are up there on the internet. Um, this it's easy to download. It's free. I'll share the link in the description below. It's a MySQL workbench, right? So you just use the link there, or you can search it up yourself, and you download the version that is compatible with your local machine, and you install it. The installation steps are just described there. It's a straight run. It shouldn't give you any hassle. If you have any questions, you can easily just drop that in the comment section, and I'll be happy to jump on it. Okay, so delving into it, there you can see, okay, welcome to my SQL bench, and all that you've done. You've set up your connection. You do not need even the internet for your connection to run, hence the term their local host. So all I do is just to click on it to launch this instance of the system. Okay, so if you have this default view and you're saying it matching red, on the line, that's nothing to bother about. That's perfectly okay. So now one of the first things we want to do here is we want to create a database. Okay, we want to create a database. So we'll be kicking this off by creating a database and then moving on to what is inside the database. Okay, so now to create a database with this workbench, it makes it easy that you do not have to write the command to create one. But alternatively, you can always write one. All right, so all you need to do is the keyword create. Now you must use that word create, type in that word create, and then you can call database. That's also a keyword. Okay, these are keywords, database. The next is the name of your database. What's the name of our database? So I'm just going to say UNI, right? You underscore I. Okay. I put a semicolon. Now, these are also important conventions, a semicolon. You're just saying you underscore I as database, and then I put a semicolon. And I'm going to click on this button here to execute the selected function. So I click on this, and I see here now that this particular command has been executed. Now, if I should refresh, by clicking on this button here, I'm going to see this U underscore I. So the first bit of it has been achieved. We have created our database. And you recall that definition, that we're working with. We said a database is a structured way of storing data. All right. It's a structured way of storing data. So let's look at it. Structured. Another word for structured, you could say organized. Okay. So if I had to use just pick on your brains a bit, in terms of this structure, uh, with the way the SQL language works. If you're structuring stuff, you recall when I showed you my book, right? So I will say when you're going through the pages of your book, the pages of your jotting, your notes. So everything is not just lumped on one page or on one leaf, right? So if you've exhausted a page, with the content that you've written out or you've drawn out, you're going to turn it over to the next page because there's no more space for that. So that it won't be tidy to be writing on what you've already written on before. It won't even be eligible when you want to read it again. So you have to turn over to a new page or a new leaf, so you can write again. Now, in terms of the system, a secure database, instead of these pages, what you have are tables. Okay, tables is what you have. So we have what we call now. We have our database, which is the main container. Now, to have this structure, our data structured, organized, we have them packed up in tables. So tables, just like pages. Okay. So represents this book collectively represents database. And now the pages, as we turn over, the pages, they represent tables, where you can look up to say, hey, just like you can easily reference, you say, hey, please go to page 4. You would see where I need a note on this course. Go to page 6, as the case may be. So the next bit, after creating a database, the next important thing is creating a table. Okay, creating a table. And similarly, for when you want to create a table, you need the keyword create. Okay, create. And in this case, you're creating a table. So we use key type of word table. Now you can see keyword, just shown to us there. I hit the tab, so I can move on to it. Now next to it is to type the name of the table, the name of the table. So I'm just going to say first table here, right? First underscore table. Okay. Now you've typed out this bit. What's the next thing to do? You need to open a parenthesis or a bracket, So you just open it and you can open and close it. Actually, you can semicolon here. And now just in between the parentheses, so just to give it space. You can have this all in one line. I just want for you to see it better. It's different conventions. Some persons are okay with it in one line. Some persons just like it to have this structure, so to speak, or easy formatting for you to you be able to read, what we're writing here, which is basically an SQL code. Okay. So now you've written the create table, create keyword table, another keyword, the name of the table, in this case, first table. And then we have our parentheses or our brackets, and the semicolon is to close. It typically signifies the end of an SQL code. Okay. So now what's going to be the content of the parentheses or the bracket? It's basically the arguments of or the content, as just use that word of what we want in there. And in this case, it's going to be the table structure, the properties of the table rather, the properties of the table. And in as you know, a table basically consists of rows and columns. So here the rows represents the records. So and the columns represent like the header. So here we're specifying the columns. So we have to specify those headers. So let's just assume that we want to take basic information, and want them numbered. So let's say basic information, we want something such as a serial number, okay? And every column should be separated by a comma, the serial number, space, and then you have to specify the data type. You specify the data type. Now we're going to get over this. Now in this case, a serial number is basically you want the type of value that should be there. It should be a number. Okay, so we're going to just specify it as an integer. So int to say an integer, and you have different integer types, but conventionally int suffices. You hit the comma and space. You want another column name. I'm going to say first name. Okay, first name. Now the type. Now this is a bit interesting. It's definitely not a number. It's more of a text. Now you can use a text type. I best approach is to use a varchar. Alright, a varchar. Now we're going to get into what these various types imply, these are various data types of a database table. What they imply, we're going to get into that much later in our discourse. But for now, suffice to just type in the varchar. And whenever you're using the varchar, you also need to specify the length, what the maximum length should be. These are some conventions that you need to take into cognizance when creating your table because you want the performance of your database engine to be efficient. So these are things you just put into consideration. So for your first name, you just want to assume that no one is going to have a first name that will go beyond 50 characters long. Okay. And then I'm also going to say a last name. Okay. A last name. Now observe how I'm not putting spaces between the last space name. I'm using an underscore. These are popular conventions, to use in as a rule of thumb in computing generally, but more so when you're dealing with a database, as much as possible, there are certain areas where the names have to be joined together. What you're typing, the value of what you're typing has to be put in together in terms of like a column name or other functions which you're going to see. So there's typically a separation. You can use an underscore or you can use the camel case means of typing, without space. Okay. For the last name, I'm saying I'm going to use the varchar type as well. Okay. If you can tap there. And also keep find the 50. Um, perhaps you have another name. So say other names and varchar type also. I'm going to put this to 100. Just I don't know why I'm going to put it to 100. I'm going to make room for title, and for the title, I'm also going to say Vaka. Um, it shouldn't be so long. So the title, I'm just going to put 15. Now, if I'm okay with this, I'm going to, if I'm okay with this, and this is where it ends, let me just turn this text wrapping on here. And excuse me. Now we have this create table command, and I'm going to click this particular button here, not this, but this to execute, and it attempts to. So it says can't create database. It's trying to execute the first one. Well, yeah, I'm saying execute the selected portion or everything if there's no selected. So this is it. This is what I want to execute. So I'm just going to start like this, and now I can see that that command was successfully executed. Okay, hence this green tick here. And if I should just click on this U underscore I have tables, right? And I should just refresh so I can see on the tables here now. I would have more information. Now my table is currently empty, right? It's currently empty, so I don't have anything on the list. There's no data, hence that blank look there. Now, the next thing is to also try to have records into this table, all right? Have records into this table. So we're just taking it bit by bit. We created our database first. We created a table, one table, all right? And now we're going to attempt to insert records into the table. Okay, we're going to attempt to insert records into the table. And to do that, we use the keyword insert, another keyword, insert, right? Now, these are like syntax that must be followed if you want to perform this sort of actions. Now, the create commands are not commands that you perform often. They are usually, especially create database, usually a one-off. And in some cases, you might not even have to. In some cases, you might just be responsible for just writing queries. Yeah, and you're just provided an SQL console to just write queries. And the console typically is just like this box where you are typing these things in ourselves. But trying to still insert records into our database table, which are created, we'll say insert as a keyword, and the syntax is say into, right? So we say insert into. Now we specify the table. So in this case, our table is a first table, and we have a 37 helping us complete that. The first table. Now next is to have a parenthesis open where we impute the columns of the table. Okay, the columns of the table, and we just type them out. First name, we have our last name. Okay, we'll have other names, we also have title. We close that, and then we'll come over to values. Okay, values. Another parenthesis in the brackets to enclose that. Now, under values, you have to make sure that you're passing down value for all the columns that you have specified. So for the serial SNO, I'm just going to say one. Since it's an integer, I'm just going to put it in there literally one. Now the other characters are non-integer, are not integer. They are kind of text characters, they are the varchar characters. So I'm going to enclose them in quotation marks. So the single quotes, the double quotes, it's best advised to use double quotes for this sort of operation. So I'm just going to say for first name, we're going to say John, a popular alias, we're going to say John, close that here, and I'm going to say Bo. Let's say you start coming before the middle name. What are we going to say? We're just going to say Bellam. Bellama. Right? That's my name. We're just going to say Bellama. What next is title. So let's just give the title like Mr. Okay, Mr. I'm going to close this parenthesis and use my quotation, the the semicolon, right, to wrap up that command, and then I hit this button to execute this command. So I'm saying that the record was not inserted. Okay, now I can see a message says unknown column, first name. Now I didn't type the name of that was a typo there. I didn't type the name correctly. Right. So now type that correctly and so I'm going to try to execute this command again. And now the records are inserted correctly. If I should just refresh here and under the table, now I have records under my table, under the tables here. Now, just to show that, to wrap up this session, to just give you a clear claim is we're just going to attempt to see the record that we just inserted into this table. And to do that, basically, we use the command that's to view the records. To view the record, we use a command known as select command. Okay, so you say select and you use an asterisk. Now, this asterisk is symbolic of something which I'm going to go into later, or I can just tell you now. The asterisk is saying select all columns. all the columns, and you say all the columns from here, you have to say from, and then you put in the table name from the table. Okay, I'm going to use that semicolon to indicate that that's the end of that command. I'm just highlighting this just to clear to the computer that this is what I want. And I'm hitting this command here. And now I can see the record that we had inserted earlier. Okay, saying SNO. Remember, we have specified one, John, we have Doe, we have Delama, we have Mr. So basically, in this session, what we have done here is we've seen how to create your database, we've seen how to create a table, okay, you've seen how to insert the record into your table, and how to view the records from your table, okay. Now, these are the building blocks of administration of a database. I'd like you to just take a few moments to let this digest, process it, and move on to the next session where we'll be building on this, be going bigger and bigger. And at the end of this discourse, I'm quite optimistic that you would be a very good database administrator. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.